someone I know was telling me that they were a guest at a family member or family friend's wedding, and I think it was in Florida. It was out of town.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get the request sometimes, like, wear all white or wear, like, whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
They had the guest wear specific, like, down to the specific. Guys had to wear this specific kind of linen suit.
Nope.
Women had to wear this specific or out. Like, what?
If you're going to do that, you need to supply that wardrobe.
Hey, Chillas. Today we are with the wonderful Nora Culley Tuck, who is the owner and creative director of Engage with Nora, an event planning service based out of my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. And her work has been featured in Vogue, Martha Stewart, weddings, brides, you name it. You've probably come across it if you're scouring Pinterest or magazines and blogs. Nora, welcome to Bridechilla.
Thanks so much for having me, Leah. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you too, especially with our pre-talk. Like, Nora is not going to bullshit you, let me tell you. Like, she is going to give it straight up, and I am here for it, and you will be too. So before we deep dive into everything these couples need to be knowing for planning the wedding, tell us about Engage with Nora and how you got started.
Oh, it's a long story, but yeah, Engaged with Nora, I started in October of 2020 in the middle of a pandemic. Before starting my own company, I had worked for several different catering, venue management. I worked in hotel blocks. I worked at Kleinfeld Bridal in New York, where I fell in love with the wedding industry. And when I got furloughed from my job in COVID, I started picking up a few freelance clients just to fill my time. And then people kept encouraging me to really start something. So this will be our 5th season. We have a team of 28. We do about 60 to 70 weddings a year. And I would say we like to work with couples who march to the beat of their own drum, want to do something unique and creative and ultimately fun.
Yeah. And your work is so fun.
Thank
and
you.
so unique, which was a big thing we're going to talk about today, is how to make the wedding authentically yours, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But I did not realize, I knew your background with like event coordinating and catering and all that. Somehow it missed me that you were at Kleinfeld's in New York.
Yeah.
So how was that whole say yes to the dress, Randy Finoli experience?
It was great, honestly. So I went to school for theater. So after graduating college, I moved out to New York to pursue a career on Broadway. That was the dream. And I needed something to pay my bills. And I had a friend who was working for the brand already, and the spot opened up. And she was like, I think you'd be great for this. So I started working there, and I was in the shop for over 2 years. Oh, wow. But it was great. It taught me so much, especially about what brides are really looking for. A lot of the times I was chatting with them before their appointment, because that's where I was stationed in the lobby for my time there. And I really got to kind of survey like where the trends were going and what people actually wanted out of their wedding days. So it gave me a lot of information to kind of start to build like what I have now.
Yeah, what a valuable experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And the dresses were amazing.
Oh, I'm sure, right? And you're getting to see some of these designers in person, like Panina and Haley and all that.
Oh, yeah. Panina was in the shop almost every day.
Yeah.
She had a whole wing of the store that was hers. I got to go to New York Bridal Fashion Week, like really cool experiences. And I'm so grateful for my time there. And the entire team there really just helped me grow.
Your theater background's great too, because you really know how to incorporate entertainment and that kind of vibe into a wedding, right?
Oh,
because
yeah.
it is a production at the end of the day. Wedding, you can, I don't care how basic you want your wedding, it is still a production.
It's queuing, it's lighting, it's set design. That's all a wedding is set design. It's entertainment. It's the flow of everything. So when I build a timeline for my clients, it's very close to like a cue sheet for theater.
There's still an intermission.
There's still an intermission.
You're still taking a time out at some point.
And if there's dead air, that's my biggest pet peeve. I'm like, what's happening? What can we queue up? Like, you know.
You don't want the guest board.
No, and it's about kind of, it sounds bad, but like almost manipulating the experience, right? When you go to theater, you are transported into a whole different world, and the people on stage, their job is to make you feel something. And that's what a wedding should be doing too. If you leave a wedding and you haven't felt anything, then they didn't do their job.
I love that. That's such a wonderful way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when we're trying to decide our aesthetic and vibe, we talked to others on the show about this in the past, but I really want your perspective because, especially now knowing that you have this theater background, what is our best way of starting to figure that out? How do we choose if we're boho, if we're romantic, if we're elegant, especially if you're all the things any given day?
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's so easily to be swayed by what you see on Pinterest and TikTok.
Yeah.
I think that's where people actually lose it. They're looking at other weddings for inspiration when what you should be looking at is yourself. What does your home look like? What stores do you buy your clothing from? What restaurants, when you go in, you're just transported into a different atmosphere and you want to keep going again and again? When I build mood boards for my clients, it's very rarely pulling from other people's weddings.
Oh, interesting.
It's pulling from architecture, design, restaurant, hospitality, art. I pull from art all the time. Sculpture, a cake is just a sculpture.
That's true.
So
which is very trendy right now too.
Yes.
Very sculptural cakes.
Very sculptural cakes. So it's about digging into your personal style and then transforming that into something tangible for a wedding. If you're looking at other people's work for weddings specifically, you're always going to be behind. Always. And then
that's so true.
Yes. So you're just following the trends that other people have already done instead of looking inward and creating something authentic to yourself.
Nailed it. Oh my gosh. No, it's true. I like to play around on Pinterest just to get inspo, but I also feel like, I've seen a ton of this, or that's so 98, but not in the good way coming back, or I feel 2008 mason jars right now.
I can look at a wedding.
Bad about it, but you can look at a wedding.
I can look at a wedding and know what year it was.
Yes,
it was
or at least
done.
a 5-year span.
Yeah.
That,
oh, absolutely.
This went from New York to Midwest, or you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Because that is true. And we're Midwesterners. We're not dissing it.
No. The Midwest is 3 years behind, and actually, New York and LA are 3 years behind compared to what they're doing in Europe and Asia. So you're always going to be behind. So
just be you.
Just be you. Be authentic, because in 20 and 30 years, you're not going to care that you had the trendiest thing or the thing that was viral on TikTok. You're going to care that your wedding was representational of who you were at that point in your life.
Oh, so many things out of that I want to say right now. First one is, I was going to ask you what the biggest mistake couples make then when choosing their vibe and aesthetic, but it probably is going to Pinterest or Instagram first.
Yes,
going to
always.
social.
Always.
The viral TikTok trend and all that.
It's great to get inspiration.
Right.
I mean, I still look at other weddings. My entire Instagram feed is other planners,
Right.
we all learn from each other. But the base material shouldn't be weddings.
It's not you if you're copying another couple,
Correct.
Basically.
Correct.
So then how do you find that balance, though, of if there are trendy things that you do feel and you do vibe with? For example, disco balls are everywhere, and you hit it at your Seasons of Love event. But I am a disco girl. I have a disco ball in my car. I have a disco ball in my office that used to hang above my bed growing up. I have always been a 70s vibe and disco girl.
Right.
So, granted, Dave has not proposed yet, so I'm not engaged. But, I see that for weddings. I'm I would totally want to find a way to incorporate that disco ball somehow. But now I'm kind of it's so trendy. And I'm such an Aries girl that I'm it's done. I guess I can't use it. But that's not really true.
You don't want to feel dated, right?
Right.
But
where's that timeless and trendy line?
But you have to think about where that trend came from. That trend came from somebody who was already obsessed with the 70s, right?
Yeah.
So if it's authentic to you, who cares, right? I think where I have the problem is people doing it because other people have done it.
Right.
And that's what blows out a trend, It's the same thing with pampas grass.
Oh, yeah.
From 2021, pampas grass was everywhere. Even my own sister had it in her wedding.
Yeah.
But my sister is a boho homesteading trad wife. You know what I'm saying? That was her style. That if you went into her home, she had pampas grass in her home.
Yeah.
So it's authentic to her. So I think whether a trend is blown out or not, stick with what you like.
Yeah.
Because again, down the road, you're going to always be happy being authentic to yourself than following what is in or out.
So guest experience is a big part of the wedding. I mean, it really comes down to you as a couple, obviously, in your love, but you're inviting people, your family and your friends, and you want them. It's a party, like any other party, right?
Yep.
Just a more expensive one. Just sometimes the most expensive one you're ever going to plan.
Probably.
So how do you stay authentically you and have your thing, but find a way to still let the guest experience be enjoyable? Because, you know, you're not going to please everybody.
No, and you shouldn't be trying to please everybody.
I think it's something people get caught up with, though.
Yes.
Especially if it's mom.
Especially moms. Especially, we could talk for hours about that. I have so many opinions. But I think the important thing to note is that your guests do not care about the style or decor of your wedding. Have you ever walked out of a wedding and been like, I can't believe they used orange at that wedding? No, what you complain about is that there were lines at the bar, that there was no place to put your coat.
The food had no flavor.
The food had no flavor, or it took forever to come out. The DJ was not good.
Yeah.
The band played the same 50 songs you've heard at every other wedding. So I always say that your guests care about three things: entertainment, food, and comfort. If you haven't nailed down those three elements, that's what guests are going to complain about most, and that's what they're going to feel when they leave.
Yeah.
They don't care that you had black linens. They don't care that you spent $50,000 on your floral. That didn't impact their experience at all.
That's all for you.
That's all for you. Yeah. That's all for you. So guest comfortability is what I always try and, push on my couples, right? When you walk into the ceremony, there should be a glass of champagne in your hand.
Yeah.
I don't care. That is what you instantly win over a guest when you do that, right? When you put them at their experience at the forefront.
When it comes to guests, their comfortability, what are things we should be considering with the venue then? Like, because there's, things I hadn't considered back in my previous life, like with older people and stuff, when there's stairs that they have to go up. And so their options were to go down to the service elevator or like their Rocky Horror Picture Show. The seat that goes up the thing. Those are their two options. And I felt so bad, but something I hadn't considered.
Yeah. I always say the first impression is most important, right? I actually got into a bit of a squabble with some parents for a wedding I had this past fall because it was a winter wedding at a very beautiful high-end hotel. And they were insistent that the first thing that guests experienced was a glass of champagne. This is a December wedding. I was like, we need to have coat check first. The coats need to come off, and then they can have champagne. And they were like, well, we want champagne first. I'm like, okay.
And they hit the fuss and fumble.
So you get handed a glass of champagne, and then you have to hand that glass back to someone or put it down to take your coat off to give it to them. That's not putting the client or like the guest experience first.
Right.
So I always think about the way that a guest enters the space, and I always think about the places that they're going to be spending the most amount of time. So that's at their seat and on the dance floor. If those two areas are not taken care of, then guests sitting in an uncomfortable seat for 3 hours, they're never going to have a good time.
Right.
Or if there's not enough room on the dance floor, or if there's not enough lighting that they can read what's in front of them. It's those little details that people often forget and can completely ruin an event.
So you talking about entering the venue being the first impression, but let's rewind the tape a little bit.
Yeah.
The first impression they're actually going to probably get is the save the date or invite. So how important is that? Because I put zero stock into it once upon a time. Not like I should have, and that was like a mistake in hindsight, but live and learn.
Listen, it's not about how expensive those stationary items are. It's about the ease of access, right? So if you send out a save the date and it doesn't say where the wedding is taking place, and it doesn't take you to anywhere for more information, then you've essentially just given them a useless piece of paper with a date on it.
Well, if it's a destination wedding, and they have to prep for that.
Right.
That could be a long weekend or a whole week versus...
Even if it is a local wedding, guests want to stay close to the wedding. They're thinking about those logistics ahead of time.
Yeah.
They're also budgeting for those things. So if you send out your save a date and you don't have your hotel blocks done or a wedding website up, why are you sending this out?
Oh my gosh, that is such a brilliant point. We don't really consider what the guests are going to be spending.
Yes.
We number one consider we should, obviously, what we're spending as a couple, right? Mm-hmm. The next then is the bridal party if you have one.
Yes, yeah.
And sometimes I think people forget what they're spending and get across a line. And then there's guests. Which one do you want to tackle first, guests or the bridal party?
Let's talk about bridal party really quickly.
Yeah.
You don't need one. You don't need one. I'm so sorry. It doesn't mean you have to spend your day alone.
No.
It doesn't mean that at all. I have so many couples that have opted to not have a wedding party.
I'm actually really surprised you're saying this, but I'm really happy to hear it.
Yes. It is where things should have been 10 years ago. Yeah. I have a lot of couples who have just a maid of honor and a best man or just, general wedding party that is there that has specific roles. But you by no means need to have 8 people on each side of your wedding party. That is just forcing people to spend money on an outfit that they're never going to wear again, on hair and makeup that they didn't choose to have, on hotel rooms, and even think about your personal spend.
Gifts.
Bouquets.
Oh, bouquets are so expensive.
Bouquets are between $100 to $200 a person. That's thousands of dollars that you're spending on things that random people are going to hold for a day and get messed up. That money is so much better spent in other places. So I'm not to say that you can't have people around you.
They can get ready with you.
Let them wear the dress that they're going to feel their best in. Don't make them stand up on an altar for 30 minutes while their knees buckle and they're about to pass out.
Yeah.
I think that's where weddings need to turn very quickly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Preach, preach, preach. I'm so happy to hear it. And we're not trying to poo-poo actually having a bridal party. If you want one, support that. But just know, at the end of the day, especially as those of us that have been through it, it's wonderful. And I've been a bridesmaid, and it was a blessing to be in all those weddings.
Of course.
However, as cute as the dress is, and they say in the movie 27 dresses, it's so great you can wear it again.
Shorten it, wear it again.
You're not going to do it.
No, you're not.
It's not happening.
You're never gonna
and you're always going to feel like you're a bridesmaid when you wear the dress because you were one, right?
Yes, and I can spot a bridesmaid dress from a mile away.
Me too. So she was David's bridal because I was in so many weddings.
Or Bertie Gray or Zazie. I always see women show up for weddings and I'm like, that's a bridesmaid dress.
Yeah.
100%. When else would you be wearing a blue satin full-length gown with one shoulder?
But, okay, so not to rain on your parade if you're in the middle of processing this right now.
Yeah.
And freaking out, going, oh my God,
Listen, I have
did I make a mistake?
So.
Did I make a mistake having my 8 girls right now? No, you did not.
No.
You have your love and support system.
Yep.
For those of you that have not picked your people yet, we're telling you, you don't have to pick them. But for those of you that did, what are some ways that we can, moving forward now in their planning? They've already given them will you be my bridesmaid?
Yep.
How can they save money having this bridal party moving forward before it's too late?
Yeah, I think it's about being considerate about the people that you're asking to put aside time and money to be a part of your wedding, Hopefully they're your support system, they're your loved ones, so they want to be there for you. But I think putting less restrictions on what they can and can't do surrounding the wedding is most important. So don't make them wear a matching dress. Let them wear what they want to wear. You can give them a color palette.
Right.
You can give them a formality level.
Yeah.
You can say hey, I'd prefer, if you love anthropology, say I'd really love if it was an anthropology style dress. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also about being considerate with the time on the wedding day. Your wedding party doesn't care about being in photos. They really don't. I look back on the wedding that I was a part of the wedding party.
Yeah.
I'm never going to use those photos. Ever, ever, ever. I don't look my best. I don't feel my best. I've spent the whole weekend catering to other people's needs. You get stuffed on a party bus for 3 hours. Yeah. You're up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get your hair and makeup done. I think those things are just... they're a hindrance to the actual experience of the wedding day. And don't you want the people closest to you to have just as good an experience as you're having?
Yeah. Did you have a bridal party?
Yeah, I did.
Is that one of your regrets, kind of going back?
Kind
like, nothing
of,
against.
yeah.
I know, me too. It's like, and this is if my girls are listening, I don't regret having you in my. I'm not saying
it's not
that.
the people.
I'm saying it's the cost.
It's the cost
for you and for me.
And it's the experience. I mean, I loved getting ready with my bridesmaids. I had 4, and they were truly representative of 4 specific moments in my life.
Yeah.
Like I had a friend to represent each part of my life. And they were great. We had a great time, but like, you know, they didn't care about being in like these editorial photos that I wanted. And looking back even on my gallery, I'm like, why did I spend so much time taking photos with my girls? I should have spent more time spending
with your husband.
With my husband.
Yeah.
Or portraits of myself, things that I'll actually use.
Yeah. Oh, great point. What about guests now with budget?
Guests. Yeah. So it's difficult, right? Because everybody these days has out-of-town guests. That's always going to be a factor. But I think giving them options and being clear with the outline of the day is extremely helpful for people. I think also considering, you know, any downtime that they have, you know, don't have your ceremony at 1 o'clock and then your cocktail hour at 6.
I'm so glad those days are fairly gone.
They still happen all over
Are they
the
still
place.
happening? I luckily have not been to one in a while. They've been mostly like going from one to the other.
Yep.
It's so hard. Like those weddings are I know it's harder. No offense to my Catholic friends, but like over hour-long Catholic service or the 2-3 hours in between a wedding.
You know what we're seeing?
And get so smashed in between.
Everyone shows up wasted. Everyone shows up wasted, which, you know, they spent money to get wasted in between. And then you have ruckus guests for the entire evening that your staff have to manage and pull off chairs and tables at the end of the evening. But it's also like people won't come to the ceremony. I've had weddings where the reception is 300 people and 100 people show up for the ceremony.
Yeah.
Because they're like, why am I going to get dressed at noon to go to a 1 o'clock ceremony and then sit in this dress for 4 hours in between waiting for something else to happen?
Yeah, you have to go back home and like undress and get comfortable and get yourself powered up again.
Oh, yeah.
Or you had to go kill time all dressed up, so you might as well just start drinking.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And it also costs you so much as the couple because, you know, transportation alone is such an expense. So if you have a ceremony at 1 o'clock, you're paying for transportation typically from noon to midnight.
Yeah.
Do you know how expensive that is?
Yep.
Multiple vehicles, multiple drivers. And
gift hotels.
Gift hotels, yes. All of that. It is expensive to be a guest. So anything you can do to make it more of a concise event will ultimately fare better with your guests.
Oh, I had to know your opinion on this. So I brought it up with someone else on the show, and they were like, I have never heard this before, but you may have. So someone I know was telling me that they were a guest at a family member or family friend's wedding, and I think it was in Florida. I was out of town.
Yeah.
And you know, you get the request sometimes like wear all white or wear like whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
They had the guest wear specific, like down to the specific. Guys had to wear this specific kind of linen suit.
Nope.
Women had to wear this specific or out. Like, what?
If you're going to do that, you need to supply that wardrobe.
Right. Like,
I'm so sorry.
It's already costing money just to like find a new outfit if you want to or need to, depending on like, you know, maybe you don't have a cocktail dress right now or it doesn't fit you.
Yeah.
You gotta buy something, right? So, but so specific. Like that to me is like asshole territory.
Absolutely. If you're going to have a color-coded dress code, it needs to be something that you can picture every guest on your list already having in their closet.
Yeah.
So like often, you know, a lot of my weddings are black and white or on the moodier side. And so oftentimes my couples want their guests in all black.
Yeah.
That is a really standard thing. Every single man has a black suit.
Yep.
Or close to black.
Yep.
And every single woman has a black dress in their
And if they don't have one that maybe fits right now, they're willing to invest in that because they're definitely going to wear that again.
Exactly.
Like,
it's a classic thing. But if you're like, I want everyone in slate blue and gray and khaki, like I've gotten invitations like that. And I'm like, what am I wearing to this wedding? Like, and then you spend hours upon hours trying to find an outfit.
yeah.
And then you're not even photographed.
So, right. Unless you're making it yourself.
Yes.
Design it professionally. So keep it more basics. Blacks, say neutral colors, pastels.
Yes. You can
wear
say
bold
bright colors. Yeah, absolutely.
Keep it to where it's like people can find something they're comfortable in their color zone, but can still look, because Patrice Catan, Patrice Catan?
Yes.
So she always says you're painting a picture with your bridal party, and you kind of are with your guests as well. So kind of like keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But don't be an asshole and be so hardcore Bridezilla specific.
Don't send a style guide.
I've heard people recommending doing that now, and I've been on the fence. Like, is that really like where we're going with this? Are we that serious now?
It's gotten out of control. And listen, I care. When I get a gallery back and there's someone in the back wearing like a bright red dress in this like very neutral wedding, I am asking the photographer to go back in and like remove them. But you cannot control your guests. You are already asking them to set aside a day, potentially travel, money, giving you a gift. You cannot ask them for another thing on top of that.
Yeah. So with saving money, let's talk about some wow factors that we can do in the different areas, right? So what's a wow factor that we can put our money towards, but it's not going to break the bank when it comes to decor?
Dance floor.
Yeah.
That is where you need to spend your money. The most important moments of your reception happen on that dance floor. I'm sorry, people don't care about the florals on their table. They don't care about how expensive the linen was. They don't care, that you had even this like huge hanging installation or things like that. But what they do care about is having a distinct place that they know they're going to be for the rest of the evening. And your photographer is always going to love a statement dance floor. They're not that expensive in compare.
What about, you said when it comes to your tablescapes and decor and that. So like, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Honestly, the chicest weddings have all candles.
Yeah.
And I love a good floral. Some of my favorite people in this industry are florists. And if you look at my portfolio, you'll see a lot of floral.
But you also have a lot of couples that like they love.
Absolutely. But also if you look at my work, the floral is in areas of high impact, right?
Right.
So where I'm investing in floral for my clients is typically the most photographed places. Things like the ceremony, things like the dance floor, things like the head table. Your guest, when was the last time you went to a wedding and you remembered what the centerpiece looked like? You don't.
You're forcing me to think back now, but the last one I can think of, I remember saying to the person I was with, I kind of feel like I'm on that show For Weddings on TLC, and I'm having to judge right now, and I don't want to be judgy of my friends' wedding.
Yes.
It wasn't bad. It was just like, I feel like I've seen this.
Yes.
And you don't want to be bitchy, but I would never say it to them,
no,
obviously.
Of course
but
not. But it's not what your guests care about.
No.
It's more about creating an atmosphere.
You know what I care about as a guest? If I can't see across the table, talk to somebody because your floral is so fucking high.
Trumpet faces, tall centerpieces. They also look incredibly dated. Yes. I'm so sorry. Big trumpet faces with plumes of spherical floral on top of them.
Yes.
I have seen people take the centerpiece off the table.
Absolutely.
I have taken centerpieces off of tables.
Because you can't talk and interact.
No, absolutely not.
Cut it out.
Yes.
Stop
and
it.
Also, if the centerpiece is too big, that there's not a place for you to put things down on the table, you've also not done your job, right? Mm-hmm. Again, it comes back to the guest comfort. If they're elbowing and don't feel like they can relax at that table, don't feel like they can talk to the person across from them, don't feel like they can put their phone down on the table, there's no place to put their cocktail glass that they brought with them.
Yeah.
Those are things that you're going to see people messing up what you've spent thousands of dollars on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we're trying to save you. Don't waste all that money.
No. Areas of high impact. Your guests do not care what's in front of them as long as it's functional.
What's the biggest, outside of obviously these centerpieces, what is the biggest waste of money you see couples doing with decor?
Aisle decor at the ceremony.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. It's very rarely photographed. And my opinion is, if you haven't upgraded your chairs, having floral at the base of white padded folding chairs, it's never going to look good.
Yeah.
If you're reusing that floral later for centerpieces or for some other thing, fine.
Yeah.
But right now you see so many trends of big florals coming up the aisle. Mm-hmm. And it's actually like not functional at all. It means that your guests have to enter from the ends of the aisle, which means that they're very rarely going to sit on the aisle. So when your ceremony is happening, it looks like you have an empty ceremony.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
Hey, lovelies. It's Leah from Bridechilla. As you all know, weddings are a time of love, joy, and a lot of potential stress. Not gonna lie. From the dream ring to the perfect dress, there's so much to think about. That's why I'm excited to share about Bridechilla. They offer both jewelry and wedding insurance to protect your precious moments. Imagine your dream ring getting lost or damaged, or your wedding being disrupted by unexpected circumstances. Bridechilla has you covered. With their affordable plans, you can relax knowing your investments are safe. Visit bright.co/Bridechilla to learn more and get a quote today. That's brite.co/Bridechilla. Your precious moments deserve modern protection. Bridechilla is insurance you can trust. I have to know your hot take on this because it's trending right now, and it was at your event. What do you really think about the trend of caterpillar tables at receptions?
Okay, so I think they can be really fresh and really cool, but you have to do them correctly. I think having different sizes of table is key.
Oh, okay.
And then also making sure that you have enough clearance at the chairs for everything to fit appropriately.
Yeah.
And also you can't have, 200 people and do caterpillar tables.
So what would be the ideal for that trend?
Oh, like 50 people.
Yeah.
And just do one long serpentine table with all of them.
I wondered, like, as a guest, like how that works, because I was trying to figure it out when I was at your event. Like, oh, and by the way, I keep saying your event. So if you're on Bridechilla and at Cleveland Leah on Instagram, the Seasons of Love that I shared on there at the Elliott was Nora's event. Beautifully done. Got to see all the different trends in the different seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter. So when I refer to her event, this is what I'm referring to, and you can look back at that.
Yeah, and it's more conceptual than anything. I think it's really specific to the client.
You think it's a short-term trend?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It'll be here for a year or two max.
What do you think lasts longer and is better for both the couple planning it and for guest experience? The longer rectangle tables or the rounds?
Okay, so...
Or is this venue specific?
It is guest specific. Older guests love a round table. It's what they're used to. They like talking with everyone at the table. It's where they're most comfortable. They're always going to choose that. Younger guests love long rectangular tables. It allows them to talk to different groups of people throughout the dinner service. It feels more communal and fresh. So I think it just depends on who you have, right?
Yeah.
You have to think about what your demographic is.
Yeah.
Your grandma's never going to want to sit at a farm table. She's not. Because she's going to be moving left to right and being like, who am I talking to?
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my gosh. Okay, so wow factors.
Yeah.
Food. What's a way that we can wow but not have to spend a ton of money?
So I think the key is focusing on the first and last impression for food. So your appetizers and your late night snack or dessert. Those are the two places that you should be really putting a lot of thought and effort into. Again, with your seated meal or your buffet or stations, whatever you're doing for your dinner, people only remember it if it's spectacular or if it's horrible. If it's in the middle, people are never going to look back and be like, wow, the food at Leah's wedding was incredible. What a great meal. We had chicken breasts and potatoes.
Yeah. As a planner with a background in catering, what do you think is the better way to go, both for the couple's budget and for guest experience? Plated, buffet, family style, or stations?
Family style.
Yeah?
100% family style. It's bringing the buffet to the table. So the thing that makes buffets not classy and people hate it is that they have to get up out of their table and stand in line to get their food, and it feels like you're at a cafeteria.
Yeah, and the first table's done by the time the last table is getting there.
Exactly. It's a nightmare. Versus what people hate about a plated meal is that you have to select that meal a month or two in advance. I don't know what I want to eat in a month.
Right.
I don't know what kind of mood I'm going to be in. And also, typically, people don't put the full description of the meal, which I think is doing a disservice to your guests. List out the way that the meal is going to be, on your menu.
Should it be like a menu thing at the table or
on the RSVP?
Oh.
on the website.
Because you already know at that point.
Yeah.
for
If
the
you
invites.
say beef, are you serving short rib? Are you serving filet?
Yeah.
Are you serving brisket? I have no idea.
Are people still doing the beef, chicken, fish?
Yes. I see it all the time. And I'm like, write it out. I want to know what sauce is going to be on that chicken before I make a decision.
Right.
But family style is great. It's wonderful on the host side because you don't have to collect all those meal choices ahead of time. You can still ask for like vegan, vegetarian, or dietary restrictions.
Right.
But guests love it too because if you're a big asparagus fan, you might take more asparagus than the person sitting next to you. Or maybe you like the chicken or the fish more than the beef. And there's plenty to go around. And it also creates conversation at the table. Hey, can you pass that to me? Is that good? Should I have more of that? Like, it gives people something to talk about and do while they're enjoying a communal dinner.
What's your take on the best late night bite? Because my first thought would be pizza, but is it probably messy?
Pizza can be hit or miss.
Yeah.
I mean, pizza's still pizza, right?
Yeah. If you're drunk, you don't care it's cold.
If you're drunk, you don't care. I love a French fry. I think that is oftentimes the best.
And not super expensive either for the couple.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Especially if your caterer's already bringing a fryer on site for other items, which you need to think about. But my biggest thing with late night snack is never do it stationed. If you have your late night snack at a table in the corner, no one's going to go over and
it's
do
true.
it.
I missed a late night bite at the one I saw it as I was leaving.
And you're like, oh, I could have, or they announce the late night bite and everyone leaves the dance floor to go get their food. You've killed the party effectively.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to do is to pass the late night snack on the dance floor. So we had a wedding this past summer where they were huge fans of Chick-fil-A. So the caterer recreated Chick-fil-A and we had them brought out on silver trays on the dance floor in custom little fry holders that had their name on it. And people were obsessed. We ran out of food immediately because people were like, oh my gosh, give me that, give me that, give me that. And they stayed on the dance floor to eat their late night snack.
You're not pissing the DJ off either.
Exactly. Exactly. You keep the party going, and it's a surprise element that people aren't expecting.
Oh, true. With entertainment, speaking of DJ, what's a wow factor we can save money with?
I think that every wedding needs to have one form of live entertainment. And that doesn't mean you have to be shelling out $15,000 for a wedding band. Often, I don't like wedding bands.
Yeah. You're the DJ versus band. That's actually one of my hot takes for you later. So
I like a combo. I think that that's a nice way to kind of get both sides.
Get some live music in the beginning, first dance and all that, have a crooner, whatever, and then get into the DJ. Yeah, get your EDM on.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, whether that's your ceremony or it's cocktail hour, or if you have a DJ and then a saxophone player comes out for half an hour later in the evening, those kinds of things are really memorable and interactive for your guests. My favorite combination is doing a dueling pianos group for the beginning of the reception and then ending the reception at 10 o'clock at night and doing a DJ-focused after party.
Oh, that's fun.
It brings a whole new energy to your event.
What do you think about people? I don't see this as common, but it still happens. People doing silent discos at their wedding.
I think it's very event specific, right? So if you have a venue in a residential neighborhood and you want the party to go till 1 a.m., yeah, you're going to have to do a silent disco at some point. My problem with silent discos is when you have multiple channels on the disco, right? So somebody might be listening to Whitney Houston and someone is listening to Diplo. And then you're not really at the same party. Yeah. You know? So I think it can be well done, but oftentimes I opt for not a silent disco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am all for personalization. Is there such thing as too much personalization?
Absolutely.
So what's the line crossing?
Okay. So I think this is something that Pinterest and TikTok have not helped with. It's, I love a detail at a wedding. I love a little matchbox with the couple's names on it as a favor. I love a cocktail napkin. I love something, meaningful and intimate in your signage or things like that. But I think the problem is that people see all of these things online and then don't pick thoughtfully. They pick things that don't align with the actual event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a client a couple years ago who literally did everything they found online. Like they had
Yeesh.
they had 2 photo activation places because they couldn't decide between the 2. So they had like a standard photo booth and then they also had like a photo set with their dogs. And I was like, so now people don't know where to take a photo. So it's about narrowing it down and again thinking about the guest experience.
I'm also just thinking, cha-ching, that's
yes,
so expensive.
It's so expensive. Even if you're DIYing these things, like also, do you want your dad having to deliver a photo backdrop to the wedding on your wedding day?
Yeah, instead of just like
and
having
having
his coffee and enjoying the morning.
It? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes the best events are simple.
Yeah.
Simple, specific, concise.
What are ways that we can incorporate our cultural or family traditions?
So I'm a big advocate of this. I often work with a lot of like cultural fusion weddings because normally the client comes to me because they know neither family is going to be entirely happy with the choices that they're making. And I'm kind of known for advocating for the client over the families. But I think it can be really subtle, like oftentimes like, symbolic things are really important. So I hate a memory table. I think they're kind of pointless and a little grim for what you're celebrating.
What do you think about that? I saw it on probably Instagram, who knows, but where the couple did, I don't know if it was quite the memory table, but they had the mannequin set up with the bride and groom's mom's wedding dresses.
I hate it. I think you do it at your shower. If you want to do it, do it at your shower.
That's an interesting take.
Because it's the people attending
all the girls
your
anyways.
Yeah, they're the ones that care to see the dress. My husband will walk in and be like, why are there mannequins here? Yeah. Like, it's kind of weird. But yeah, I think it's about doing those things, again, for you, not for anybody else. So subtle things. Like often I'll have a bride recreate her mother's bouquet or turn her mom's dress into an after-party dress or things like that to the majority of your guests, they're going to be like, oh, wow, that's cool. But you're doing it for you.
Mm-hmm. I love those 2 ideas, the bouquet. Mm-hmm. And we've been seeing the mom's dress being recreated a lot lately. Yep. But that's a great reminder for people that you can take, if, maybe you don't like the look of it or it doesn't fit or whatever, but you can repurpose it if mom's okay with it, which I'm sure she will be.
Yeah. I think also like instead of doing, like I was talking about memory table, instead of doing loved ones who have passed away, do family wedding photos. I think that's like a much more meaningful thing to everyone in attendance, like to have, your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, like those kind of wedding photos there. I think that people will actually look at that. People feel weird coming up to a table and like looking at dead people.
Oh, speaking of which, coming up to the table, the guest book.
Oh,
guest books are on my bucket.
Yeah, no. No. Do not do a guest book. You're never going to look at it.
Even the interactive ones, what do you think? Because like the vinyl record, signing the vinyl record or something that's going to be on display, I don't hate on it, but like there's traditional guest book, I fucking hate.
No, it feels like a funeral.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah.
So sorry poo-pooing anybody out there. Like, I mean, do you if you really, really want that, but you're probably never going to open it.
It's going to sit.
But it does feel like a funeral.
In a box in your basement for 50 years. And you're going to be like, I can't throw this out. Aunt Susie wrote me a nice note that I looked beautiful. And you're like, who cares? She could have told you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think also like even the Polaroids, that's dead.
Oh, yeah? Is it?
Yeah, I'm so over it. They are so labor intensive. Oftentimes, like, we bring a large staff to events, and I have to station one of my girls, like, at the table to be refilling film the entire evening.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you want to have
what a waste of a resource.
Yeah. If you want to have a floating Polaroid going around, give that to, a friend and say, like, hey, take some fun Polaroid photos throughout the evening or give it to these other people. Like, have that pass around. We're also seeing people doing, there's a company that does vintage camcorders. So they'll send you 2 camcorders and you just have it pass throughout the event and people can like talk to you directly on it or they can film what's happening. And again, I think that's much more meaningful. You'll actually look at those things rather than like some random cornhole board that people signed with Sharpies.
Because video, which is going to get ruined and weathered anyways.
Yes.
Video and videography, or photo and videography, I'm sorry. Videography in specific is the number one biggest regret couples did not get. Do you see that on your end too?
All the time.
Do you try talking to couples like you really should consider this in your budget?
I really do. I always build into the budget when I'm creating that for a client. Just because photos are fantastic, right? But they're not capturing what people said to you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my husband and I got married on Leap Day.
Oh.
And so on our real anniversary, we watch our wedding film and we have like all the speeches in their entirety. We have the ceremony in its entirety. I think that's where videographers have taken a wrong turn, is that they've gone into these like cinematic highlight films that with like cheesy voiceovers and like songs that nobody likes. And it's just like snippets throughout the day. And I think that's not what people are looking for.
And you have to pay way extra, I think, now for raw.
For raw. Yeah. And it's not even raw. It's just like a full ceremony edit, a full formality edit.
Yeah.
Those things are really important. I mean, we all grew up with our parents having their entire wedding just in chronological, unedited order.
Right.
And that's way more meaningful than like this weird thing that has like...
The sizzle reel is nice and it's helpful if you just want to have like a you know, caption or sent to family and friends if they wanted to look back. But like, if you're going to be watching it, you want the whole thing.
The only reason you have photo and video are for you, for your memories, and they're heirloom items. Those are the things that are going to get passed down to future generations.
Oh, I have to say this, what comes to my mind. Not to like have an ADHD type of moment on you, but like I'm cringing at myself right now thinking about this. Like I was so happy, like I got married and we got some of the professional photos back and it was like the family photo, right? Of like the close of both sides. Yeah. And so I got them blown up on canvas for like each of the like immediate family members. Nobody fucking wanted it.
No.
Nobody cared. Nobody wanted it. Like,
I hate family formal photos. I think they are stressful and a waste of your time.
I mean, I liked having the photo at the time. I mean, now I'm being divorced. I could care less about it. But at the time, you know, like we have older people in there and like, you know, the grandmas and stuff like that.
But wouldn't you have rather had like an authentic photo of you and your grandma dancing on the dance floor?
Oh, yeah. But don't get me started on my photographers for like not getting candidates. That's a whole other conversation, Nora.
I just think like I would much rather have real moments captured of me with those people than a stiff photo in a church of everyone like...
I like the combination of both. Like having a couple of pose, like you just have that for, you know, for future. I'm all about candids.
Yeah.
But I think a healthy mix of both. Like having just the immediates. Like
the immediates, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what my family photo is, like the immediates. Yeah,
Don't do it all. But you don't need all your aunts and cousins.
Yeah, no. This was just like, I mean, I did have my one great aunt, but she's like, it's her and my brother. Like they're immediates.
Right. But the people who you actually
the actual immediates. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But I bought all of them like the canvas as if they fucking wanted it. They don't.
You know what they would have rather had?
And now it all became like, well, you know, firewood.
You would, what they would have rather had was a beautiful portrait of you two.
Yeah.
Hanging on their wall.
In hindsight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, always.
So please don't make my mistake. Save yourself. Save your money. Don't waste all that money at the...
Yeah, the printer.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap. Okay, so we talked about Pinterest a few times on here. What Pinterest trend do you wish would just fucking die already? Like, please, couples listening, do not do this if you can. Unless you really are hell-bent, this is your vibe, your thing, do you. But if not, please don't fucking do it. Let it die.
Baby's breath.
We must be related. I hate baby's breath with a passion.
And I understand why it came into...
It so badly.
I think it'd be really cool. I've done weddings with baby's breath.
I think it looks like head lice. That's all I see.
It also smells really, really bad.
Yes.
And I understand why it happened. It's a really voluminous flower, and it was incredibly inexpensive when it came in a trend. So it was a way to kind of combat the rising costs in floral. But now the demand for baby's breath is so high that it costs more than other types of floral.
I hate it. I'm so glad you said it. I hate it.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of a miss. Like
Well, being 80s baby, like it used to be like in hair and stuff.
Yes.
That's where my head lice, I think, gets attributed to. That's what I think of.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, I mean, honestly, most trends on Pinterest I really kind of hate.
Yeah.
Again, if I've seen it, like oftentimes like clients will want to share their Pinterest board with me and I ask them not to until I'm done with their initial mood board. Because again, they're not pinning the right things. They're pinning things that have been sent to them in an algorithm because they put in black and white wedding decor. So if you've seen the photo, I've seen it 30 times. And so has everyone else.
Yeah, it's so true.
So again, don't look at weddings for inspiration. Yeah, and I think there's just like little things here and there that I think are unnecessary.
Yeah, what's the biggest waste that you see?
Like custom table numbers. I don't know when that became like a big thing. Table numbers are about function. Like I had a client this past year that had white on white table numbers that she probably spent $300 on. And every guest came up to my staff and was like, where is this number? And we're like, it's right there. And they're like, oh, I couldn't see that.
Yeah.
Form and function. Everything needs to have form and function. If it's purely for form, get rid of it.
Great tip.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you're already super honest, so we're going to get even more honest here. We're going to do the hot takes, right? The fuck it bucket.
Okay.
So you're going to say yay or toss it in the fuck it bucket. And you can give more context to something if you're on the fence, whatever, right? Okay. So, registries.
I'm on the fence. I think that they are really helpful if you want to make sure that you're not getting a bunch of crap. But I think you also have to curate your registry in a way that is really accessible for your guests. Having a variety of price points, a variety of stores that they can get things from. But I also think a really chic thing to do is to do charity donation instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more popular.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Charity or just straight cash, homie.
Straight cash. That's how I put a down payment on my house.
Right?
Wedding gifts. It was the best.
That is, I mean, well, especially since a lot of people already live together ahead of time. So you need less,
Less things.
But if you do need that new air fryer or something, I guess this is your way to do it. Like, do it.
Ask for it. But I think, again, making sure that people can easily find it, making sure that they're priced appropriately. Like, don't put an $800 Dyson on your registry. Who's going to buy that?
Right.
Or
do that, but then make sure you have like a $20 this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, a variety. Some people like to do clusters of gifts. Some people like to all go in on one big gift.
Yeah.
So I have like a certain percentage and range that I give to my clients so that they can curate a practical registry.
Oh, that's a great idea. Okay. We can deep dive on this in another episode. I really actually want to talk more about registries with you because my brain is just like, oh, I have so much I want to ask you. Okay. Holiday weddings.
Oh, fuck it. Nobody wants to spend their holiday at your wedding. New Year's Eve, I'm sorry. When did that become a big thing? Nobody wants that. Everyone has New Year's Eve plans that they go to every year. I also think like Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend.
I did Memorial. Well, I did that Saturday leading Memorial when I got married the first time around. Because in my brain, I was like, everyone's coming in front of town. This is great. You have an extra day.
Travel prices.
Flight prices are insane. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hotel. Yep.
Didn't
consider that. Learn from my mistake. Cake smashing.
Okay. So I think it can be, most times, fuck it. When I go up to a couple and I'm teaching them how to cut the cake before it's time for that formality to start, I always ask them, are we smashing?
Oh.
Because the bride is usually going to say, absolutely not. And then the groom goes, absolutely not. Like in a response. The bride has spent $500+ on her makeup that day.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be getting cake out of her nose.
Yep.
But I think if
and the hair in the dress.
But I think if you are both on the same page and you do it in a fun and consensual way, it can be great. But it has to be consensual.
We just had the Vendor Table podcast on.
Oh, yeah.
And they So I know Lauren agreed with you on no holiday weddings, but Michael was like, I guess the only exceptions may be New Year's because you have a bomb-ass party. But they both said, fuck it to cake smashing. Lauren said, actually, it's grounds for divorce.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Kids at receptions.
Fuck it. What does a kid want to do at a wedding? What is there for them?
Like, the parent has to babysit.
Yes, the parent doesn't get to enjoy. Yeah, fuck it. It's not an event for kids. Take them to Chuck E. Cheese.
2 or more dress changes.
Fuck it.
Because you're fucking up your timeline.
Yeah, and it's just, you're doing it just for photos.
Do you think an exception would be if you had like the straight dress underneath and you wore the ball skirt for like ceremony?
A convertible outfit?
Convertible, yeah.
Absolutely.
Take the sleeves off or something.
I love a convertible.
Yeah.
I think there should always be a slight change between ceremony and reception. And I'm sorry, you need a second dress at the reception. Nobody wants to wear their gown the entire night. You're going to be sweating. You're not going to be able to dance the way that you want to. And oftentimes when people are choosing their dress, they're picturing what they want for photos and for ceremony, not for function on the dance floor.
Yeah. So you're okay with a second dress change for reception,
Absolutely.
but just like when they start going into like the multi-looks.
Yeah, and like the weird thing of like getting your hair cut at your wedding, like stop it.
I hope that does not trend. Like I saw online and I don't understand. Like that's so risky.
It's also like, why are you're doing this just to go viral on the internet?
Which is not about your love.
No.
DIY.
Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm with you. Do you want to spend your wedding day?
Unless you're really crafty. But if you're doing it to save money, chances are you're actually spending more.
Yes. I mean, did I DIY things for my wedding? Absolutely.
Was it one of the things when you look back?
Yeah, it's one of those things I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
But also like the bigger thing is absolutely do not DIY your floral. Do not. Floral is actively dying. So do you want to spend the 3 days prior to your wedding arranging floral and then finding a place to cool it and then finding a way to get it to the venue, set it up, and then retrieve it at the end of the night?
What about they use silk flowers, fake flowers?
So the rule of thumb is if a guest can touch it, it must be real.
Oh.
Yes. So if you're doing a big, large hanging installation, that does not need to be entirely real, but you need to have a real florist doing it. But if it's on a table, it has to be real.
Guests are going to know.
Guests are going to know. Those dusty silk flowers.
Those dusty silk flowers. I'm here for this. Sparkler exits.
Fuck it. Drunk people in fire? Who's thought of that? And also, you have to pay for your photographer to stay an extra couple hours and take photos of nothing just to get that
It looks pretty,
photo.
but it is a logistical nightmare and it kills the party.
Does it look that pretty?
I have seen it look pretty in photos. And my friend wedding that I was at, like, her photos turned out pretty, but it was a pain in the ass because everyone has to get off the dance floor and then you have to get it lined up. And it does kill the party.
I turn into like teacher mode and I'm like, you can only hold your sparkler like this. We will light your sparkler. You are not allowed to light your sparkler. Like, I'm always like, the bride is flammable. Do not wave it in her face. Like,
the bride is flammable.
Very flammable. People don't think about that.
No, there's so much hairspray.
The materials you're wearing.
And the material of your dress. Yes. It's true. Actually, with the sparklers, cold spark fountains.
Yeah, much better. Or fireworks.
Oh. If you have the money, just do it.
Do it.
Speeches.
I would say, what's the other option besides fuck it? Love it?
Yeah, like yay.
I
here
think
for it.
Speeches are necessary,
in between.
But it should not be your entertainment for the evening. 3 speeches, absolutely max, no more than 5 minutes apiece.
What about the idea that's coming out now about saving speeches for the night before the rehearsal dinner?
I love that. If you want to have people toast you all evening, absolutely the rehearsal dinner is a place to do that. The welcome party is a place to do that.
I guess the only problem is that was brought up with vendor table, Mike and Lauren, was that videographers get pissed off because then they're not
they're not there.
It. Yeah,
well, but
there's no audio.
Well, they need that for their cheesy highlight reel that they're
going to highlight reel that you hate.
Yeah.
That's in your fucking bucket. Your fucking highlights. The garter and bouquet tosses.
Fuck it.
They're dead now, aren't they?
Antiquated, for the most part.
Yeah.
I did have a client, they did the bouquet toss, the garter retrieval, the garter toss, and the garter mount.
Wait. What? What the fuck is a garter mount?
Okay. It's very old school and it's very misogynistic. Basically, so the groom takes the garter retrieval or the removal is the groom taking the garter off the bride in front of everybody.
Right.
Then tossing it.
Probably obnoxiously with his teeth.
Yep. While Pony is playing. And then throwing it to, or pour some sugar on me.
Yeah.
Throwing it to the grooms or to the men. And then the mount is the man who catches the garter, putting the garter on the leg of the woman who caught the bouquet.
Yeah.
Again, in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And very uncomfortable.
Oh, I have not seen. Yeah. It's all flashing back years of childhood watching this over and over again at weddings. It's so gross.
It's disgusting. I hate it.
Yeah, that's I'm always like, no one wants to see Uncle Bob taking a garter off a bridesmaid or something. It gets so gross.
No. And and the brides, or like the woman who catches the bouquet is always clearly uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And the man putting the garter on the woman is clearly enjoying making her uncomfortable.
And we're not anti-garters. Just save it for the hotel room after.
Buy a nice lingerie. You need a garter.
If this is something you really want to do, please reconsider. It's so uncomfortable.
Do it at your bachelorette party. Do it at don't it has no place. There's no reason why that should be happening in front of your grandma.
Yeah, grandma does not need to be seeing that at all.
Nope.
I mean, I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it either.
It's so gross. Choreographed dances.
Love it, actually.
For the couple or when it's the whole bridal party?
Oh, no. Bridal party, fuck it.
Yeah.
Couple, love it. Only because I'm a theater girl.
Mm.
So I love a nice little choreographed moment, and it can really be a highlight for your guests.
Yeah.
But I think it shouldn't feel like super choreographed. It should still feel like you guys. Like, if you are not natural dancers, do not do this crazy thing with lifts and dips and turns and all of that. I think
don't do dirty
really
dancing
simple.
recreation unless you are dancers.
Which I've had people who were dancers. Yeah, do lifts or things like that in general. It can be really great. I have a great choreographer that I work with all the time. But I think it has to be really specific for the event and for the couple.
All right, last one for now. Champagne tower.
Fuck it. I think you can display champagne without it being a hazard.
It can still be editorial and pretty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not be sticky.
Yeah, and I've done, and I shouldn't talk. I've done.
Well, it's trending, and
dozens of champagne towers.
And your couples probably want it. But.
Yeah, and I think it's a nice replacement for a cake cutting if you don't want a cake.
Yeah.
But just be aware that no one is going to drink from that tower.
Interesting.
Have champagne at their table, and then if you want to pour the champagne and have that moment, that's fine. But only the top 8 glasses are going to get filled.
So much money being poured.
And also keep in mind, coupe glasses are not usually included with your caterer or your rental.
Yeah,
so you have to rent in all the coupe glasses. Yeah.
And that's what? At minimum $5 extra per glass?
Yeah,
more?
Plus delivery and things like that. And if you pour it incorrectly, you're breaking glasses, so then you owe the rental company even more.
So there's some sneaky costs that you aren't considering.
Yep.
Keep that in mind when you want to recreate that.
Yep.
I really don't want our conversation to end, but I'm going to ask you the final question and wrap things up.
Okay.
So final question. What is your all-time favorite celebrity and or royal wedding?
Okay, I don't really like celebrity weddings.
You're not the first one to say that on the show.
I think they are not really authentic. I think they're just for People magazine.
Oh. Do you have a least favorite then that you've seen? That's this is so ostentatious.
Oh, God. I mean, honestly, any of Kim Kardashian's weddings, I think were just kind of blah.
Yeah.
I also think royal weddings are so boring. They're so boring. You can tell, I could tell Meghan Markle did not want that wedding. She's walking down that aisle, and I'm like, she did not want that dress. She did not want that bouquet. She did not want to get married in that church.
The dress didn't fit her very well.
No.
I love the
her
second
reception dress.
Yeah, love the second dress.
Fantastic.
I love Stella McCarthy.
Yeah,
Stella
same.
McCarthy does no wrong, and it fit her appropriately.
Yeah, I just think, your wedding should be about an experience that you are providing to your loved ones. It shouldn't be about being in a magazine.
I like your hot takes. Nora, how can we find out more about you and engage with Nora?
Yeah, so I am on all socials. You can find me at Engage Nora on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, all of that. And then if you're interested in working with my team and I, you can reach out to us on engagenora.com.
Thanks, Chillas. Nora, I cannot wait to talk more with you.
I know, same. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media and visit us at thebridechilla.com. Bridechilla is a production of Evergreen Podcasts. Thanks to our producer and audio engineer, Sienna Longfellow, our video editors, Kay Holmberg and Jessy Leigh, and our executive producers, Bridget Coyne and Gerardo Orlando. Of course, a special thanks to our OG Bridechilla, Alicia, and to Megan Ely of OFD Consulting. I'm Leah Haslage. Until next time, Chillas.